It's Krishan. How are you? Just waiting for Julie-Anne to come on. So, wanted to give a shout out and say hello on this wonderful Sunday. Hope everyone is doing well and looking forward to having this deep dive into adjusting to life in Italy. So, for many parents who are making and considering a move abroad, particularly as they come from the States, they sometimes wonder whether or not, if they're able to make that move. So, I'm excited to have Julie Ann in here to give her perspective. So hopefully we'll have a connection quite soon and she can share her experiences. So let's give her a second to join. It looks like she's joining now. Julie-Anne, can you hear me? So we'll give her a
Just
second.
saying.
As you may remember, Julie-Anne made her Blaxit from New Jersey to the Tolfa Mountains of Italy. So we're on a bit of a time difference. So I'm so appreciative of her joining today, particularly since it's evening where she is, afternoon where I am. And so I'm really excited for her to give her update. As you may remember, Julie-Anne was featured in episode 5 of the Blaxit Global podcast, and she told her incredible story. And so I'm hoping that, we'll be able to get in. Oh, we have a couple of people joining in now. Yes. Oh, it's so cool. So, hi, Baldwin Villager. Hi, how are you? And Samila Samaya joined. Hi, how are you? Thank you for joining our live. Yeah, we're just giving it a second for Julianne to jump on. So excited for her to give her perspective. There she is.
Hi.
Hey, you made it.
Yes.
That's awesome. How are you?
We are doing fine. Say hi, Alex.
Hi,
Hey, Alex, how are you?
I'm good.
We don't know how to get the two of us in the picture. Come over some more.
Yeah, take a minute to adjust. Everybody settling in. I'm going to do the same now that you're here. Can you still hear
Yeah,
me?
I think that's it. Yeah, I can still hear you. Can you hear us?
Yes, yes. So we have a couple people that are joining on the live, and I'm so excited to have you and Alex here. And I just wanted to, first of all, again, because of the time difference, thank Alex for jumping on and giving this incredible update. I
Sure.
know you've been in Italy for just about maybe 3 months now.
Almost 3 months. It feels like a
Almost
long
three
time, but
months.
it's just almost 3 months. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I just can't wait to jump in. So I'll give like a formal introduction. So for those of you who are joining, I'm Krishan Wright. I am the host of the Blaxit Global podcast and the founder of Blaxit Global. We highlight incredible and empowering stories of Black expats who, from fear or frustration, decided to take the road less traveled and pursue a new life abroad. And I am so delighted to have Dr. Juli-Anne Russo, who we featured in episode 5 of the Blaxit Global podcast, because she, her husband, and her son, Alec, who is also there, made the jump from New Jersey, where I am, but also to the Tolfa Mountains of Italy. So I'm so excited to have them share more about their journey and their update and having the courage to move in the middle of a pandemic. So with that, I'm so excited.
Yeah, that was good.
Thank you. Thank you. So how's it been? How's it been?
It's been a whirlwind. There's a lot to learn. Every day is a steep learning curve, and there's so much more to learn. But we came with the attitude that, this is where we want to be, and so whatever comes at us, we're just trying to like learn as much as possible and give some slack as well because, hey, we're in the middle of a pandemic. So,
Yes.
you know, we are giving ourselves, time to just adjust and understand there's a lot to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's already impressive that you have doctor among your list of accomplishments, but I feel like you should have an S, a superwoman cape, just being so brave and making that leap to a different country where you don't speak the language. And so, for people who have not listened to Julianne's episode, Julianne is originally from Jamaica, and
Yeah.
and is learning Italian. And I know your son Alec has mastered, I think, Italian. How are you doing, sweetheart?
Doing good.
Yeah. How are you adjusting to school?
So far, pretty good. I've made quite a few friends.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. What do you like most about being in Italy now?
Maybe that it's a bit more free and people are a bit nicer.
That's really important. Very, very important. Yeah, and how have you been adjusting with the language?
Pretty good. Before, I would always talk with my father in Italian, so it wasn't really too hard.
Oh, that's
Well,
awesome.
I'll jump into that with the
Please
with the
do.
language situation because kids they tend to forget. So he knew some Italian. Well, he knew Italian to speak,
Mm,
so he can understand. But there are different levels of fluency. So he learned by just listening and speaking. He's never formally been taught, like how we may learn English from
hmm
we're little, but the grammar and everything, he never learned that. So he didn't know how to read or write. And then where we are, there it's not only Italian you have to take into consideration, but also the dialects. So there are three
Mm,
different dialects in our region.
really?
We didn't really take that into account. So he went to school quite confident the first day,
hmm
knowing that he could communicate. But once he started listening to the teachers, and all of his subjects are in Italian. And again, he's never read or written Italian. So the
hmm
first day he was happy, but the second day he came home and said, I'm not going back.
Oh,
So it was like an explosion
yeah.
of words and dialect and culture. So it wasn't that easy in the beginning.
hmm
So having knowing some Italian really, really helped,
Yes.
but also trying to adjust to the culture and to listening to the new dialect was also different. So, but
Yeah.
3 months into it, over time, but the first 2 weeks were really quite hard and it's very exhausting. It's very tiring.
Yeah, I can imagine, it's like you said, dropping him into a new environment because Alec was born in the States while you were born
Yeah,
in Jamaica. Your husband was born in Rome. Alec
right.
has been in the US for 11, 12 years, and
11.
11 years. I'm making you older than you are already, Alec. um, 11 years and being fluent and being taught in English and the teaching style. And then I know
Right.
before you made the leap, he was homeschooled. And then
Yeah.
going from that environment to now a new country where children, I would imagine he might be the only expat in his class. Um,
Yes.
so just making that adjustment and being I don't know, just thrown into, I guess that's the best way, right?
Yes,
Immersion.
he was thrown in. He was absolutely thrown. I think none of us had a clue,
Yeah.
and for him, you have to know your child also, and he's pretty smart, so we figured he would be able to handle it.
Hmm.
but we really didn't understand how much of a change it was going to be. So
Yeah.
it was quite a lot at explosion. And initially school was 4 hours. So
Mm.
I think for us in hindsight, this was one of the best moments to move because it wasn't a full day of school. It was just 4 days of
Hmm.
school. So he got to gradually get into it. Now it's 6 hours of school,
Oh,
but those
okay.
4 hours, by the time he got home, he was exhausted. It was a lot.
Yeah. So how did you and your husband navigate and manage that? Because you're not in the classroom with him, and I'm sure he's come home, like you said, exhausted and maybe to some degree frustrated. And so how do you then maybe help, well, first empower him, and then fill in the gap where he might not be as familiar with those aspects of the language and dialect?
So we had to, well, one thing is great. They have an app. The class has an app
Oh, nice.
that you get to see all the subjects that they're doing. So the
Mm.
app is like all the subjects, what the subjects are going to be covered. All the homework is on it. So you get to see what the homework for the week is going to be like.
Mm.
And then there are only 16 kids in the class. So there's a,
Wow.
yes.
I have
So,
not heard that. I mean, even in preschool, these kids have like 20 and 30
yeah.
kids.
Right. So there, and again, our region, okay, so we're speaking for our experience because everywhere else is different. In Rome, I think the class size is much bigger. We're in the countryside.
Hmm.
So there's a much smaller population. So there's also a WhatsApp group for the parents. So we were on that WhatsApp group like every day. Like what did they see? What was the homework? And for me it's like Google Translate. So I would Google Translate
Mm.
them and ask them, so what was the homework? And then send pictures
Oh,
because
nice.
Alex, yeah, because Alex was not writing any notes.
Ah,
So
yes.
I'm like, he came home with his notebooks empty. I'm like, what are you learning? So they would send pictures of the notes so we could
Uh-huh.
see what it is that he was writing. So that was for the first 3 weeks.
Mm,
Um,
okay.
yeah, and then we used Google Translate to translate the book
Wow. You
because
have to get
I couldn't read
scrappy.
it.
You have to get scrappy. Like you said, your child. And so,
Yeah,
everything that you guys have shared in the episode and then right now is that you're very, very attuned to what's going on with this young man and making sure that he
yeah,
has
you have to.
what he
You have
needs.
to. Yeah, you have to be
Yeah.
in tune because then the first week, like I said, it was very hard. Um, and then it's culture shock. I mean, not
Mm,
so much for me, but for him it was culture shock. And then the nostalgia, like we are the parents, we picked him up and moved here. So
yeah.
he, felt somewhat nostalgic for what he left behind.
Mhm.
So a lot of, counseling and saying it's going to get better. We
Mhm.
talked to the teachers, and the teachers were very, very kind.
Oh, that's
And
great. That's
there's
great.
one English teacher. So
Oh,
one
wow.
teacher that speaks English.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Well, at least you have one.
Yes. So
But
she would
you're trying to learn
communicate.
the language, so you're trying to make sure that, you're increasing your proficiency along
Right.
with Alex. So it's kind of good in a way, I would imagine, that you have limited opportunities to speak English, so it forces you, in a
Yes.
sense, to
Yeah.
embrace your
Right.
love and and competency in Italian, I would imagine.
Right.
Oh
But
my
she
goodness.
was very helpful in communicating with the other teachers.
Hmm.
Um, what that he couldn't understand, and it was yeah, the first 2 or 3 weeks was pretty hard.
Yeah. So, Alec, you mentioned that one of the things that you like about your new school and your new country, but more specifically your new school, is that people are nicer. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, basically they're a bit more friendly than the children that were in my school. Like, as uh, so we live in a little village, so they everyone knew that I was new before I even knew their names. So as soon as I walked into school, everyone was calling out my name, and I was kind of confused.
Oh my goodness. You're like, how do they know who I am? Oh, that's
Yeah,
so
they
cool.
know everything before. I mean, we are shocked at how everybody knows everything.
Wow, that is so, it has to touch your heart because getting thrust in a new environment. And I think on two sides of this, right? So, as a child in the US has been the only country that you've known, and you're adjusting to new kids, new environment, everything's brand new. And then on your parents' side, making that decision to move him, and he's in middle school, so that it is a very interesting age in terms of just
Yes,
development and timing. And
yeah,
so I'm sure you both were having, you and your husband, some conversations around, how to make this move successful for him and still having a little bit of trepidation. And so it had to give you all peace of mind to know that, you made the right decision, that he's making the right adjustments and giving him support where he needs it.
right.
Yeah,
This
that's
came
interesting
over just
because a lot of parents, especially in the group, get a lot of questions about, should I make the move? My child is this age,
right,
or, I'm a little nervous because this is the only country they've known. And
right.
so I think just having stories like yours and perspectives, especially since you're literally in the throes of it, only three
Yeah,
months in, does so
yeah.
much to help educate people, allay concerns. So I'm excited, and I see that the chat is kind of like lit up. And so yes, I want to remind people that are on the live. Feel free to drop some questions for us to tackle, or probably more specifically, Dr. Russo, because I'm still in the States, y'all. But for, for Julianne and
Well,
Alex.
one of the things I would say is that definitely try to learn some of the language before coming. I mean,
Mm,
that is really very important, or at least to take a couple of months, intensive before if you know that you're coming to a country in which you speak a different language, to try to at least learn it 2 or 3 months before, coming. And high school, in hindsight, we had wanted to come like for high school. And I'm so happy we didn't do that because high school is so much harder here.
mm,
Um, there's no multiple choice. They have oral exams, essays. You have to write a lot. And like I said,
ah,
the writing is something that he has to like, it's going to take him the next 3 years to kind of really understand how to write these essays grammatically and in, that format. So I think this was actually the right age in hindsight
mhm.
because it will take him the next, I think the age of up to 10, 11 is a great
Wow.
age to get into the language, learn a
Yeah.
language, especially if you plan to stay for high school and university.
Hmm.
High school, that's when you've already had your friends. You don't want to leave your friends behind. The kids don't want to leave their friends.
Yeah.
So that makes it so much harder for them to adjust, especially the nostalgia with the changes.
Hmm.
So I think yeah, I think this is a really good age.
Yeah, it sounds like it is. And, just even like you said, the rigors academically, if you had made that move much later, his level of familiarity with the language and just customs, their grading, etc., would have been a harder barrier to overcome or more challenging.
Right,
And then in
right.
terms of socialization, just being an older teen and
Yes,
being
yeah,
settled into that I have that experience now. My daughter is 15 and she wants no part of moving abroad.
Yes, it's much harder then. Exactly.
Yeah, she has
Exactly. He had no
no
choice.
desire, no desire. She's like, okay, mom, you do you. And I was like, all right,
Right.
girl, 2023, you know. Boop.
Exactly, exactly. So he had no choice. And I mean, you wanted to come. He was excited to come, but he just didn't know what to expect.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny because you guys or you, Julianne, shared on the episode that you guys had been traveling to that area for quite some time. But I think
Yeah,
what's interesting to make a distinction, particularly for people who haven't made their Blaxit, is there's a very big difference no matter how long you've traveled to a country, how many
right.
times, traveling as a vacationer versus
Yes,
going and living there. Two totally different experiences. So
yes.
can you expand on that a little bit?
So I mean, it's um living here is, it's been a hard thing trying to adjust to like it's real life versus vacation.
Mm.
Trying to get into a routine that it's business, that you're trying to do business, not just go and explore every day kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, so that's a whole different thing, trying to understand the customs,
Uh-huh.
um, the way that they do things here, the way that they do business. I think where we are in the countryside is very appropriate for the moment during a pandemic. It's much
Mm.
slower, and this is a place which is more family oriented. It's not like,
Oh.
I think once they're 18, 20, they leave. There's
Oh,
nothing
okay.
else. No, it's not fast. It's not Rome. Everybody wants to go to Rome. If I were here, maybe in my 20s and 30s, I would
Hmm.
find it absolutely boring.
Ah, yeah. So
But,
just a slower pace.
right, it's very slow because I went to the post office and I found it fascinating. It took forever just to get stamps.
Oh my gosh.
So, and everybody's just hanging around. No one's getting upset. They're just hanging around talking. And I'm like,
Wow.
well, I just need some stamps. He's like, no, I can't give you the stamps. I need to put the stamps on. Right?
Oh my
So,
gosh. That is wild. That is wild.
exactly, exactly. So, when I went to the municipal building to do some business, I'm like, this is like Jamaica. It was like an old colonial building,
Uh-huh.
but it was like Jamaica in the 70s because nothing was digital.
Oh
It was all
wow. Oh my
files, manila
gosh.
files. I think I was paying like the school bus ticket,
Hmm.
and it was the lady was writing it out on carbon paper, and carbon paper was underneath. So I was like, this is very interesting.
Yeah. And it's so funny because I think for us, because we're around the same age, it's like that. It's like two, and I don't know, it's two sides to that, right? It's on one side, you're like, wow, you're embracing this like nostalgia and it's great. And it just gives you like a familiarity and the warm and fuzzies. And then perhaps on the other side of that is kind of a sense of disbelief that in 2020, people are still writing with carbon paper. And
Yeah,
so it's like this duality, I guess.
it's a duality that I appreciate now at this
Hmm.
my stage in life and having a family, because everyone here is so family oriented.
Mm.
And that was a difference from in the States that I just never felt, working corporate. No one really cared about having kids. If you
Mm.
doesn't matter, you need to go home to go take care of the kids. Here, the school finishes at 2
Oh,
and the
nice.
moms are at home preparing the meal. There's no fast food.
Uh,
There's
can
no
I
fast
come
food.
today?
So I
Wow.
have gotten used I've gotten used to that. I think I was asking one of my friends to do something. She's like, I'm sorry. She said, yes, we can go, but we need to be back because I need to prepare the lunch.
Oh,
So
I
I
love
was
that. It's like a little house on the prairie.
exactly. So, it's the priority is the family, the priority of the
Hmm.
parents, the children. Everything has to, it's all organized that if it's not the mom that's doing it, it's the aunt or the uncle or someone is helping to make sure that the kids get what they need to get. And that's exactly what I needed.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to know that I'm not the only one that is a priority. Your child is a priority, and it's not a terrible thing when you're
Exactly.
working to say, I need to go home to look after my child. I used
Mm-hmm.
to feel terrible about that working in corporate.
Yeah, because, when we were coming up, and just to harken back on that Little House on the Prairie example, those were the stories that we used to see on TV, right? With kids being around the table and everybody eating as a family. And then when you become an adult, and in this day and age, we say it takes a village, but in a lot of ways it doesn't play out in the States. And
Right,
so to
right,
have that and still find that where you are in a country that, you were not born in, that you
right.
chose to go to because you found that sense of familiarity, that lifelong
Yeah.
love that you had. So I'm excited to, just have this update. So one question I had for you was, in terms of getting Alex settled academically, you had, I would imagine, all his records from the States. How did
Right.
you have to manage that in Italy? Did you have to have everything translated and things like
Everything
that?
had to be translated. Yeah. So it
Wow.
took us about maybe a month to get all the records together. And yeah, everything had to be translated. And then we sent them by email. So they got all the documents. Um, So yeah, I mean that was it basically. And education is free. So once you're a resident, it's free. And let me tell you, the level of education here is superior for public
Wow.
school. He's learning. Well, they have to do English. So for him, he has to do something a little bit more challenging. But
Mm-hmm.
all the kids are learning English, French, and then they
Wow.
in Italian, like how we'd have to learn English grammar, they have to learn
Yes.
Italian grammar. They're doing Italian literature,
Really?
history, geography. They do art 3 times a week. They do
Whoa.
what? Yes, and it's not like uh just make paper machine. No, it's like they're doing art history. So they're
Oh my
learning
gosh.
Roman art history, Greek art, art,
Mm-hmm.
um, and then they do music as well. So and the math. The math is really, I mean, it's really, I'd have to say it's really superior. I
Oh,
was
I
really
believe
impressed
it.
by that. Yeah.
I believe it. We had a question from Baldwin Villager. She says, "How is the school food?" I want to know.
Well, we're in a very unique situation. So at the moment, because of COVID, so Italy is on the various stages of lockdown right now.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, we're in the yellow zone where we're not on complete lockdown, but how they managed going back to school in a pandemic is that, like I said, school was initially from 8 to 12, so they would come home and have lunch. So there's no food served. So
Ah.
they have to sit in their own places and eat at their desk. So they'd get a little snack. But
Mm-hmm.
initially, there was no snack time. You just come home at 12. Now they're coming home at 2. So they have two snacks or two lunch, snack and lunch, whatever. So we have to bring our own food. But like I said, the kids come home to a cooked meal and
Mm-hmm.
everyone cooks really well. So I don't know
Wow.
what it's going to be like when COVID is over, but right now they're not really serving food at school because of
Mm-hmm.
that situation.
Mm-hmm. So you talked a bit before about the cost. You said tuition is public school is free.
Yeah,
I know we touched on it briefly on the podcast about continuing education, so secondary education,
right.
college, university, and I know it's called different things in different countries, different parts of the
Yeah.
world. So, how have you guys started to research university for Alec, just to kind of get an idea? Because in the States, you can go. really far in the spectrum, like one way, and even then it's still a lot. Or on the other side of the spectrum, and it could be the price of a home, let's say.
Right. Well, we haven't quite done the university thing yet because it depends on what he wants to do. So
Hmm.
right now, his interest is in flying. He wants to be a pilot and he likes engineering.
What?
So
Wow,
when
that's
that's where it comes.
awesome.
But we know that university is nothing compared to the US. Uh,
So
my
nothing, give
husband
us a little
told
bit of a benchmark
like
because I know
he
it's
told
more than
my husband
two.
told me that it was like maybe 2,000 euros a year. So
Wow.
like I said, we haven't really investigated what it is now,
Hmm.
but it is nowhere like the US. It's
Oh
it's,
yeah.
it's no.
It's and it's unreal. I mean, I went to SUNY, gosh, a long time ago. And it was definitely under 10,000. And my niece went to Drexel and it was 65,000 a year.
Wow.
And
No.
it's insane, right? And just to see that we've gotten ourselves in the States into this big mess when
Yeah.
education was supposed to improve not only your
Right.
knowledge and make you a contributing member of society, right? Because the more educated our population is, the more
Right.
innovation and economy and everything fuels everything, to this burden that makes us indentured servants, really, because you're
Right.
still tethered to a system. You may have gotten the education that allows you to have, a 5 figure, 6 figure, whatever type of lifestyle.
Right.
But with that comes this, ball and
The
chain debt
burden.
that
Yeah.
prevents you from doing anything else because you have to get a car and a house and all these other things. And
Right.
so
Yeah.
it keeps you tethered to these systems. And so, to the extent that you can liberate yourself and go to a different country, start anew, and particularly for young families and who are considering making the jump, just
Right.
by your example, you will fly. Essentially, you will fly.
You
Wow,
you
that's
get to
great.
play. No, the education here is everyone's well read. It's
Mm,
like it's across the board. Everyone gets a similar education. What we found shocking in the US was how how disparate the gap is in
hmm.
terms of education. Because when we were looking, I was not happy with the public school education there, and we went to look at private school, the Montclair Kimberly Academy.
Yes. Hmm.
That the education that they had, just in terms of subjects, nothing else like the building or the equipment, just what they were learning. It's very similar to what the kids are learning here, and even more, they're even learning more here. That was like 40,000 a year.
What?
And I just thought that was the most ridiculous thing. Why is it that only a certain group of kids can have this education and the rest of us who, can't? I just thought that was ridiculous. So I don't think people in the States or the kids are not as well read,
Hmm.
across the board. Whereas here, everyone, if they take advantage of the education, everyone, I find people more well read, and they may not have gone to university because you don't have to go to university,
Hmm.
but everyone is like well read. They read and they can think and they can understand about things, which I just find that fascinating that you don't have to go to university. You can do you can go to technical school or some other trade school, which a lot of the kids go to.
Hmm.
But university is not like, you know, the thing that will leap you into getting a good life, in other words.
Absolutely. And I think the difference is because, you look at the United States from where it was to where it is now, we don't manufacture as a nation. Everything is imported. And so there's not a lot of skilled trades. There are very few, they're diminishing. So you still see you see the electricians, the plumbers, and things like that. But, I am old school. I don't go and buy
Yes,
like 9 million shoes. I'm looking for the shoe repair. I'm looking for the guy who's gonna, take the seam in on my pants and the tailor. And
Right.
so these like hands-on things where, you would get furniture made and take pride
Yes.
in that. And so to
yeah,
your point, you didn't have to be learned in a formal degree
university,
in a
yeah.
university to still contribute, to still have dignity and respect. And so we put this, in my mind, this false narrative that you have to have it. And when I
University
look,
degree.
exactly,
Yes.
because when I look at my education, I mean, look, I grew up poor in the boogie down Bronx. And yet I still had so much more exposure to things as a young adult than my children have. And my children have been to public school, they've been in private school, they've been in charter schools.
Right,
And no matter what, my experience, my education still leapfrogged them in a lot of
right.
ways. And so I played the clarinet when I was 12 years old at Carnegie Hall. Like there were, and we had real instruments, not
Wow.
the recorder,
Yes,
like,
right.
and
And
so,
now you don't have
yeah,
that anymore.
no, no. And
No.
so
Yeah.
and if you want it for your child, you have to pay a ridiculous amount. And I know we've spoken because we talk almost all the time,
Yeah.
but you
Yeah.
had a recent experience where I know Alec was getting lessons, music lessons in New Jersey, and you wanted
Right.
to do that in Italy. So can you share a little bit about that?
So he plays the violin, and we just always found it very expensive just for the lessons alone. So we would get like various scholarships or, various things to help with the cost of lessons. So his last teacher, I think the price was $70 an hour, and I think she reduced it for us or something. And so when we came here and we're trying to find lessons, it was 60 euros a month.
Oh, wow.
And he he gets like an hour of lesson. And I think right now they're not doing it because of COVID, but
Hmm.
that would include um, theory, an
Oh,
hour of
wow.
lesson, and orchestra.
Nice.
Whereas we
Wow.
had to pay for the orchestra, which was like 1600
Hmm.
for the same for this for orchestra as well as private classes.
What?
Right. When we signed him up for orchestra and so we're like, okay, he's gonna do orchestra. We don't have to pay the private. And then the director came and said, Alex needs to do some private lessons. And we're like, are you serious? We need to pay for more. So it
Wow.
was just oh we were it was everything just cost so much. I think especially in New Jersey, whereas here
Yes.
um they have a really nice music school. I mean, it's Italy. Music is valued, art is valued, the
Hmm.
arts in general is valued. So they want everyone to be able to participate. And so most of the, a lot of kids, they do the music in class. And then if you want to do
Hmm.
something outside, then you can go to music school and do something outside. So it's very affordable. Like the cost of living in Italy is very affordable, which was shocking, was surprising. I always thought that Italy was it's only for the wealthy.
Hmm.
It's not.
Wow. And that's so interesting because Baldwin Villager had asked, cost of living. So can you maybe do a comparison of what it is? And, I already know in terms of being in New Jersey how expensive it is. And
Yes.
looking forward to every day. I'm just like, oh, it's that much closer to when I'm out of here. So, can you share about that, like your perception of what it would cost to live in Italy versus the reality now?
So they always tell you, don't come to Italy expecting to find a job. So that was
Mm,
our what really held up our moving. So we're in transition right now. So looking for things outside of Italy to,
Mm.
for cost of living. However, if you have US dollars, the cost here is like we're in the countryside. So the countryside versus Rome. In Rome, maybe rent would be like 650 euros a month, or something like that, which is expensive because the average, I mean, most people it's like 1,000 to 2,000 a month they would live off of. So if you're going to spend
Wow.
650, that's a lot. So, but if you move into the countryside, you
Hmm.
can get anything between 300 and 400 euros a month, and you have more space. So that's why we
Wow.
didn't really want to live in a big city. For many
Yeah.
reasons, we wanted to move in the countryside. We thought it was just better.
Hmm.
Food is really cheap. The most expensive thing is energy. So,
Mm.
like we, luckily for us, and I had to learn. If you if you see my Instagram,
I'm always
um,
on your Instagram.
we had to learn how to use a fireplace because
Yes.
having a heating system would cost. One of our neighbors told us it would. He got a bill one time for 400 euros, which is exorbitant.
Whoa.
So we learned to use a fireplace. So that
Wow.
heats up the whole house, which is really nice.
Hmm. Have you
Um,
found that you guys have been more minimalist as you've settled in these
oh
past few
yes,
months?
definitely. We're still trying to move our stuff, and I told my husband, I'm like, make sure you get rid of everything. Don't even carry anything. Don't even bother.
Wow.
Don't even bother. We're like trying to sell all of our stuff. You don't, because yeah, people live very simply.
Hmm.
Um, you don't need a huge wardrobe. Just that simple, other than maybe if you're going to live in Milan or
Hmm.
maybe Rome, you want a certain look.
Yeah.
But on an everyday basis, again, this is vacation versus real life. This is
Hmm.
not like going to, Capri or Sorrento and you need to have your special dress or look a certain way. This is, you know, you
Yeah.
know, the pictures that you see on Instagram is very different from real life.
Oh, yeah, I
So,
bet.
I mean, like you don't walk around every day looking like that. So they dress very nicely.
Hmm.
Italians dress wonderfully, but very simply.
Hmm.
So you have a few of everything and that's it.
Wow. So, how have you been adjusting? I know you mentioned the app, and then I know Emily, who's on here, her daughter is in school in Portugal, and so she had mentioned that she has an app so she can even see what she's eaten, her daughter's had for lunch. How have you been able to adjust to the other parents? I know you talked about it being very family friendly, community
Yeah,
oriented, but clearly being outside of that environment, right? You're brand new.
right.
Have you encountered any challenges outside of obviously the language barrier?
No, I mean they're very helpful. Very helpful. I mean, no, I've not had any bad experiences
Hmm.
with the parents. In fact, I went to my first parent teacher meeting,
Oh,
and
nice.
yeah, I was like, what they were trying to find somebody to like lead the group. Um, and one of the moms, I mean, she knew some English, so she was trying to tell me what was going on, and no, they're just they just embrace you, which is like I keep wondering, is this for real, or is this going to end?
Hmm.
I don't know if this is like real because yeah, I've had that experience in New Jersey where um yeah, people are not as friendly. I don't think either they're rushing or they don't have time or I don't know what it is, but I didn't find the atmosphere as friendly as here. And
Hmm.
everyone is always like, if you need help, just let me know. Like I said, I would get onto the WhatsApp group and I would ask them questions, and they were very willing to help. And in the beginning, everybody was like asking questions. So no, it's like I think like moving to the countryside was like the best. I don't know if it would be like that in Rome, because it's
Mm-hmm.
again it's a big city, but with a small population where everybody gets to know you, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing though, which I have to get used to, is that everyone knows your business. So,
Small community.
but that is, if it's a negative for you, it's something you have to get used to. And like I said, everyone knows everything. There's always eyes. There are always eyes.
Yeah.
There are always little old grandmas that are sticking their head out. And we stand out. We do not blend.
I wonder why.
We do not blend.
Yeah, that is, I would imagine that is an adjustment because, like, and just to draw a parallel, when I was growing up, and I grew up in the Bronx, grew up in Co-op City, shout out to Co-op City, high rise and development. And you didn't want to get caught doing anything because you were
Yeah.
afraid that your
Yeah.
parent was going to find out, because even if my mother wasn't around or my dad, I had cousins
Somebody
that lived
knew.
nearby. I had friends' parents and their friends' parents. Like, you always had eyes, so it kept you
Yes.
walking the straight and narrow.
The straight
But
line.
yeah, and then as an adult, like, you're right, over the decades, the culture has evolved and we're less connected in that way, even though we're kind of more connected by technology, but we've become less connected and as a
Not physically.
society. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
not physically. Like I didn't know, I didn't feel connected to my neighbors. I mean, I've
Hmm.
lived in New Jersey for 11 years, and then although we'd say hi, we're friendly, I didn't feel that connection as I feel the connection here. Like the kids, initially I found it really weird that the kids are unsupervised. From they're about their 10 or 11, they're allowed to
Mm.
walk to the piazza by themselves. So when they
Whoa.
asked Alex to do that, I was like, I don't know. I'm not used to letting you out on the street. So, just the other day I started letting him walk out by himself or walk down with the other kids. And he just loved that. It was like such freedom and such responsibility. And
Hmm.
it's the one thing, the reason why that is that all the eyes are looking, all the
Mm.
eyes, they know all the kids.
Yes.
And so there's not an opportunity for any of the kids to be mean to each other.
Mm.
That compared to the bullying, and I just find that kids were like really mean in New Jersey,
Hmm.
that you will not find here because everybody knows each other.
Hmm.
And so there's a connection. There's an investment not to be mean.
Hmm.
Why would you want to be mean to your you know, cousin or your best friend's sister or something like that? Everyone takes care of each other. So I kind of felt more comfortable with him walking down to the piazza because I know the little grandma was seeing him walk out with other kids.
Oh my gosh, that is so great. So, Alex, what's your favorite food?
Well, it's a hard decision. Maybe pasta carbonara.
Ooh, good choice. Good choice. And I know your parents are awesome cooks. And, your mom may or may not be writing something related to that.
Cooking.
Oh my goodness, I can't wait till I can come to Italy and eat. Because
Yes.
you have made me hungry, young man. Oh, that's awesome. So, Alec, you walk to the piazza. What is that like? Having just that freedom to, go for a walk and or hang out with your friends. How does that
It's
feel?
it's kind of weird. Like I'm not used to it because before you weren't able to walk around in New Jersey. You would
Hmm.
only go to the park or go to each other's houses. Here, I actually go out with my friends after school, and I walk to and from the bus stop, and I walk by myself, which is kind of weird for me.
I bet, I bet. But it's so great that you are building this sense of independence and confidence in your environment, particularly since you've only been there like 3 months. So, I think as time progresses, you'll feel more at ease, but I definitely can relate to feeling like, this is different. As I know in
But do
New
you like it?
Jersey, I
Yeah, I
drive
like
my
it.
daughter everywhere. She can't really walk.
Yeah, we didn't want him to take in the bus in New Jersey. He always wanted to take a school bus. So when he was able to take the school bus, he was like, oh, I can take the school bus.
And another thing about that is that I'm on the third to last stop before turning back to school.
Mm.
So from where I get on, it's totally downhill. And so my bus is sort of a combination between a truck and a van. So it's slightly small, like medium size.
Uh-huh.
And the road is small, but no one drives on it. So he takes an advantage and speeds down the hill to save time.
Oh no. Hold on tight. Wow. Oh my goodness. And how long is that bus ride?
From the beginning, I think 10 minutes, but from my stop, about five.
Oh, okay. Okay.
No, it's 10
Wow.
minutes. 10 minutes.
Yeah, about.
Yeah.
Whoa. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I would imagine like small little village roads and all of those twists and turns and downhill and
Yes,
um
they drive like that.
yeah. So let me ask you also, Alex, in terms of sports and you're in the Tolfa Mountains, which is famous, and your mom educated me on this, the horsemen, right? I know there's an Italian word, it starts with a B. I'm not even gonna try and pronounce it.
Bateri.
The Bateri,
Bateri.
there you go. I tried it. So, have you been able to take advantage of that while you've been there?
So far, not really, but the last time I visited, I was doing a lot of horse riding lessons.
Oh, nice, nice, nice. Yeah, hopefully you'll be able to get back to that. And I know as we all globally are dealing with another surge of COVID and, different stages of lockdown, hopefully in a few months we'll all be able to return to some semblance of normalcy and, you can get back out there and start riding again. That would be so cool.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. So, Julianne, so what is next for you and your family?
Well, right now I know I walked out into the piazza today and everything was so quiet.
Mm.
The stores were closed because we have a 6 o'clock curfew. But
Oh,
as
wow.
of uh today, some other areas are under the red, which is like a complete lockdown.
Hmm.
So the cases here have leveled off, but I think everyone is just keeping quiet. So I guess we have to keep quiet too, which is really weird being in Italy and not being able to like travel around. Like I keep wanting to go visit places and sightsee, but yeah, we have to like keep quiet right now. So and then
Hmm.
Christmas is in 5 weeks, so we're all looking forward to at least having a Christmas.
Hmm.
So, like everybody else, it's one month to the next.
Yes.
But I really look forward to summer. I'm really hoping that we'll have a vaccine. Everyone says, the vaccine will help. And if this is a second wave, and usually have like 3 waves.
Correct. Hmm.
So we're just hoping that it will be over by summer at least,
Hmm.
and we can sort of get back to life. And we just look forward to just traveling around Italy. That's all I look forward to right now.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah, I bet. And I'm looking
yeah,
forward to traveling to Italy to see you.
of course, of course.
Now that I have so many
Um,
people in the group that are in Italy, and I'm like, wow, I didn't even know all these fabulous
yeah,
melanated folk are living their best life in Italy, and
yeah.
wanting
I
to see
mean,
you.
this is a beautiful place, and one of the goals that with currently doing classes, Italian classes, which you
Mm-hmm.
have to do, is to be able to interview. I find everyone here so fascinating. Everyone here has a skill. They own farms,
Mm.
and I just want to like. I'm walking on the street, and I saw them doing something in a garage. They were making wine. So I'm like, I want to ask them,
Wow.
I just like, it's so fascinating that everyone has a skill.
Yeah.
And so I want to like interview everybody, like, how do you do this? How do you do that?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a part of my writing. I'm trying to, do more writing. It's a little difficult trying to navigate both, but for the future, I want to be able to do that and to work on my cookbook and to have
Yes.
that published. So, that's what we plan to do right now. School and
Yeah.
writing and cooking.
The world is your classroom. And
Exactly.
I think when we get out of the matrix that is the United States and that hamster wheel of go, 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 and keeping you on that hamster wheel, and you get off long enough to experience another culture, embrace another lifestyle, come into your own and have different experiences, and realizing you don't have to have this, corporate job, or,
No,
all of these degrees to add credibility to your existence. The world
right.
is literally your oyster and your classroom, so that you can
Yeah.
continue to learn, to iterate, to contribute. And so that's the thing, and the part that I love most about your story and how it's unfolding for you, and just looking forward to 2023, y'all, when when I can make that jump as well. Um,
Right.
and hoping that in 2021 that we will have some a step forward or closer to normalcy, because
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to traveling again. And my
That's
daughter
nice.
just did that recently. She just got back Monday. She went to DR for a week with her dad, and and she's fine. She came back, thankfully safe and in good health. But I am so looking forward to making that a
For
part of my life
yourself.
once again.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. Definitely. That's what we all look forward to. But
Absolutely.
yeah, if anyone has any questions, they can always DM me and ask me.
Yeah. So as we close out, what advice would you give to families that are considering making the jump, not sure because they feel like they want to ride out the pandemic? Any of the above. What advice would you give?
First of all, for the language, like I said, definitely, um, we tried Zoom classes. That did not work for us.
Mm,
So, especially the group Zoom classes, but one-on-one to just have a basic understanding before arriving.
mm-hmm.
To spend the time to do that now is really great. And I do Skype classes, and my teacher
Oh,
is really
okay.
great. Yeah, so doing that now is great. And then when you're able to travel, to come to the place that you want to live to, because
Mm-hmm.
I think why we were accepted and embraced was because we have been traveling here. The kids didn't know in the first couple of weeks, the kids were not, they're friendly, but it takes time for them to warm up because they're used to each other, just like any middle school.
Yes.
So, however, because he knew some of the other kids, it made it easier. So I
Mm-hmm.
think it's really important to come and travel and spend some time, like a summer. And that's when you can do your immersion class into the region to get to know the people and so that people can get to know you. It's
Mm.
not good to just come and just arrive just
Mm.
like that. Um, because they've been here forever. So it's like a stranger entering, and then you don't want to mix it up with the fact, do you think it's because I'm black? It has
Mm-hmm.
nothing to do with being black. It has to do that you're a foreigner and you're a stranger. So you
Mm-hmm.
don't want to like mix up that concept, that idea. So that's the two most important things is to travel, go live there, understand the people, get to know them, and to
Mm-hmm.
know the language before, you can't just come and arrive just like that.
Yes, because you will be in for culture
Shock,
shock
more than a shock.
like you would not believe. And you're
Yeah,
right, it helps you to distinguish, what is adjustment. Like you said, it's the fact that you're a foreigner and everybody has been there and they're close knit and they know each other and they don't know you and
right,
you're a stranger. Just as if a literal stranger were to walk into your home, you do a
right.
double take. And so it's less about you
Exactly.
being black and more about you being just an absolute stranger.
Yeah, yeah. And I had to differentiate, just from the experience of living in America with racism, I had to like um really try to understand what the difference is,
Hmm.
being a foreigner versus is it somebody that doesn't like black people.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have to say I have not had any experience with racism. So it's just that somebody may just be impatient or
Mm-hmm.
that, you're taking too long to speak the language and I don't understand, but it's not because I'm black. I have not had that experience yet, thank God, and I hope I don't.
Yes.
But
Yes.
it's a completely different experience than living in America.
I would say that. Yes. America
Yeah.
has racism on lock and they clearly
Yes,
don't want to let it go. So I
exactly.
think it's also
Exactly.
helpful to have like perspectives such as yours because, sometimes people have preconceived ideas of
Yes.
what a country and their receptivity would be to a black person, or they're
Yeah.
taking someone else's friend of a friend that told them their cousin once went to Italy and had a bad experience versus, having their own experience. And so
Right.
while you can, use someone else's experiences as a data point, maybe as a reference
Yeah.
point, it's really on you to go and see for yourself. And, if I had gone to any of these places that I've traveled to based on what I only on my perception or what someone told me, I wouldn't go
Right.
anywhere. Last year
Yes.
I went to Iceland and Greece and France and I forget where else. But, I each one of those places had a story. And if I
Right.
went just on someone else's negative experience or what I perceived would be my experience, I would
Yeah.
have robbed myself of such a rich experience. And so I
Right.
have a lot of fondness for every place that I've journeyed to because it contributes to my life story and my life experience. So I think your advice is
Right.
just incredible and helpful.
Yeah. Learn to understand the culture and don't bring your own. It's a very slow pace. It's not to bring the American way. It's not to come and change anyone. Spoke to somebody and she's like, I don't understand. And I'm like, it's not for you to change them. It's for
Hmm.
you to fit into the culture and to understand the culture. You can't bring America to Italy. It's a different country. So if
Hmm.
that's what you're going to do, then you're going to be unhappy. If you expect the efficiency and that's efficient in some ways, but every place has its good and bad. It's for
Yes.
you to be able to fit into the lifestyle and to make it yours.
Hmm.
So that's why I say you have to live here and know this is what you want. This is what you can, fit into before you arrive.
Hmm. Absolutely. Pack your privilege because You will get a rude awakening if you don't.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so on that note, I just want to thank you both for spending the hour and giving us a fantastic update and perspective on
Sure.
being in middle school, adjusting to life in Italy, and the differences between your experiences there in New Jersey. And I look forward to catching up again. And for those of you who have not, again, listened to Juli-Anne's episode on the Blaxit Global podcast, it is episode 5. So you will learn more about her incredible journey. Follow her, get her updates on her upcoming cookbook, and more, more, more to come.
Bye.
Bye.